What's up, everybody? For this episode, I really just want to talk about procrastination really quick. I recently talked about it with my friend Jose Quintero, the artist you saw in the last episode. And in all honesty, I'm pumped up with a lot of energy right now. So if I'm the complete opposite of procrastination, don't let that dilute my message whatsoever. Right now, I need to share with you that it's not just about the just do it mentality. That takes a lot of mental initiative, and not a lot of people can use that on a daily basis. It's not it shouldn't be expected of you to have that amount of initiative every single day, and it's really just a matter of habit forming that makes all the difference. I want to give you the specifics because I myself was freaking frustrated whenever I would read things online or get advice, read books that try to give you, the rundown of how to combat procrastination. It was frustrating because there's a lot of tips out there and I didn't know if there was a way I could tailor that to myself. I feel I've tailored it not only to myself, but made it universal in the sense that if I deliver that to you right now and you start implementing that and seriously doing so, it can make all the difference. And the number one thing, before I even give you any of my tips, is you absolutely have to give yourself more than one option. You need a plan A, B, C, D, E, F, G, go on all the way to Z. And the reason being is because it just wouldn't make sense for you to rely on one and sometimes even 2 to 3 options. You need to diversify and be adaptable, flexible to your current state in that day alone, because it makes all the difference. So while I give you advice, I will also be giving you tips about how, in what categories you can maybe tailor it more to your needs that day. So tip number 1, you guys know I freaking love to say this. It even makes me think of that song Water. You have to drink water. There's no argument there. Water is hands down one of the most undervalued things when it comes to procrastination, combating procrastination, and it's because it gives you so much energy. It gives you so much energy that you may not even realize. So if you're consistently drinking water, it just pumps you. It gives you way more fuel that you can then level up your performance in ways that you never knew. As of today, I've implemented drinking at least 8 to 10 cups of water every single day, and it's revamped my energy going to the gym and doing any work that I have to wire myself to a computer. It makes all the difference. So drink freaking water. Please don't drown your organs. The second thing that's super important is sunlight. That gives you energy. There's research papers about it. There are books that talk about it. You need to get sunlight. My absolute recommendation is that you go outside and walk at least 15 to 20 minutes at 12 or at any time that the sun is available and you can actually get sun exposure. All the freaking difference. It does give you energy and you will get to work and have more willingness to do so because you'll have that extra energy. I know there are places that sun exposure isn't so readily available, and so my tip to that, where you can tailor it to yourself, because as Miami right now, I have the sun hitting my face almost all day, but when I lived in New York, there were days that I didn't even see the sun at all, especially since in winter the sun goes down by 4 p.m. So my advice to you is please invest into a sun box. I think that's what it's called. It's basically a light that you can connect at your home, and it mimics the UV rays that you would get from the sun and provides you with that same level of energy that you would have, or at least close to it, that you would have gotten from the sun. And that makes such a difference in your day-to-day because that sun exposure really brightens you up and gets you wired. My third tip, and this cannot go without saying, is doing an alarm system of a sort. So let me explain that. That was a horrible way to introduce it. Basically, the way I do it, because I know I personally can last an hour of concentration without too many breaks in focus within that hour, that I allot 60 minutes to myself and I time myself. Mind this, I time myself for 60 minutes to do whatever productive work I want. And then after the 60 minutes up, I force myself to take a 15 to 20 minute break. Now, even if I'm not in the mindset of wanting to be on a break and I can go on for another hour, I don't, because then I burn out for the rest of the day. And you don't want that. You don't want to exercise your brain muscle until failure, because unlike the gym, we are actually trying to use it all day. I don't know if there's any folks out there that go to the gym all day. That may be a problem if you do, but you get the point. After that hour or whatever amount of time that you need, and here's the space that I'm indicating that you can tailor for yourself, is try to realize or experiment and figure out what amount of time you can go with full concentration no matter what, not overextending and not underdoing. Because once you have that figured out, then you do that amount of time, take a 20-minute break, go back to it, and rinse and repeat for as long as you need to, especially in exam season, or if you need to get a good chunk of work out of the way more than you usually do. You're going to want to get in that marathon mindset instead of trying to sprint the whole time and devoting 3 hours without stopping. You're not going to retain any of the information you just got, or at least not the bigger chunk of it you would wish you would retain. And that's terrible. My fourth tip is making sure that you are eating food that fuels your fire in an appropriate way. If you're eating something super greasy, carbing the fuck up, eating a lot of fats, you're keeping your proteins low as hell, and that's coming from a vegan. If you're doing all that and you're eating junk food, it's just a matter of time that you're gonna crash, just as you would if you overloaded on coffee all day and needed to perform a full days of work. I personally wouldn't recommend doing coffee all day. That would be terrible, but that's up to you. My point is, if you're eating terrible food, your performance is going to match that what you put in. Your output's going to be what your input was. So my thing is, if you're eating healthy, making sure you're eating, I personally freaking love spinach, and that's a great energy source for me. Eat your spinach, eat your plants, eat whatever's going to give you that energy you need to perform. Tip number 5, if you're really trying to keep your focus at an all-time high for an extended period of time, there is no way in hell you're going to do that without meditation. This comes in many forms, but just to give you an example of mine, I meditate by staying still and focusing only on my breath, because one focal point and allowing your thoughts, yes, they will be introduced to your head. Yes, you will have to eventually deal with external thoughts that you wouldn't want to, because you think that would defeat the purpose of meditation. You're going to have to deal with that. And the way that I do it, and let me paint a picture for you when I say this, is as a thought is coming and another thought is coming, they're like orbs. And what I do is genuinely grab it and just let it sway away from me, completely dodging it so it doesn't hit my body. It doesn't get to me. The moment I do that, I allow myself to not be startled up in my meditation about trying to force myself not to think about things. Rather, I allow whatever to come in the house, but I make sure that fucker is not staying here and not paying rent, basically. That may have been the cheesiest thing I've ever said, or the most dad thing. I don't even know. Let's move on. So you want to make sure that you're implementing meditation in whatever form again, because it allows you to have that composure. I don't know about you, but usually when me or my friends that I've spoken to are studying or doing something prolonged that's productive, or have a task that you have to spend almost a whole day on, you get this sense of irritation. You start shaking your leg and you get all jittery. The way to combat that is through meditation, because just right now, how I'm high speed, talking about meditation slows me down a little bit, because it just reminds me of how I actually devote a small time. I only do 10 minutes every time I meditate to simply focusing on my breath and enjoying the stillness and composure of the moment. And before I move on to the next tip, if there's even a next tip, I have to say a tip for my tip. So 5.2 maybe? Don't know, whatever. My tip for meditation is that you don't try to force the meditation. Yes, I told you about the thoughts coming in and not letting that impact you, but there's another component, which is don't expect meditation to work on the first try. It really is a skill. It's a muscle you exercise, basically. And the first time may not be the best. You may not see the results immediately, but I promise you, if you did it every single day or devoted a certain amount of times a week that you will be doing it, you will see the results and it'll be exponential. I have said it before, I deal with anxiety. Like anybody, I've dealt with my fair share of depression and this and that, whatever. I've always gotten my stillness, my composure, and my patience from meditation, whether that's in a productive mean like studying and doing all the work and trying to combat procrastination the way I'm trying to bring value to you right now, or whether it's dealing with life events. It's really the best thing you can do. So please, please, please implement it in whatever form you want. If it's writing, if it's going to the gym, 2 birds, 1 stone, great. You do it. But make sure you're meditating so that way you can get that focus at an all-time high. Tip number 6, I think, might sound crazy to you, but it totally makes sense to me. And I really did get this trick in my psychology class, and that's having things that contextually prep you up to get in a certain mindset. So maybe that was a mouthful. Let me explain that. I personally have associated putting on a hat like this with getting shit done, getting my work done, putting in the work. So whenever I have my hat on and I'm studying, I'm way more wired than if I didn't. Or maybe it just gives me that initial push, like, okay, I have my hat on, and whenever I have my hat on, that means, man, I'm putting in the work, or I'm focused, laser focused. So if you have something like that, that can make all the difference for you, especially if you're one that's inclined for like psychological things like that. And maybe it might be a placebo effect where it doesn't really chemically make any difference, but since you associate it so in your thoughts, it will make all the difference for you. So if you want to do that, whether or not it chemically works or you're tricking yourself, it can give you that leverage. And I would totally implement it. I don't know about you, but when I'm in desperate need of focus, I'm going to do those little things that can actually push me on that on that level that I'm trying to get at. Tip number 7, environment, hands down. This, like, I don't even want to say it's an opinion. This is fact. And if it's not, I'm sorry, but this is fact to me. And the reason that I stress this so much is because it is just tried and true. I don't care if there's studies out there that say yes or no. It's just engraved. And that is that of the environment. If you associate your room as a place that's very chill and you just automatically get sleepy, and it's like the moment you even look at your bed, you're done, you're tapped out, it may not be the ideal place to be studying or putting in work or whatever you're doing that's productive. So my thing is, I have a desk in my room, and once I sit down on that desk, I never sit down at that desk unless it's to absolutely work. Once I sit down, I'm wired. If I do it on my bed, I will do my work a lot slower or not at all because I just finished falling asleep and now I'm taking a 20-minute nap. That is tip number 8. And so that's why it's super important. So if Starbucks works for you because you like that noisiness in the background and you can use that as white noise to help you focus, then go for it. Or if you go to Starbucks and you just plug into your AirPods or earphones or whatever the case may be and just isolate yourself, but you just like the movement in the background, great. If you like complete silence, a freaking teardrop that falls on the ground would be the loudest thing in the room, then go to the library. Whatever the case may be for you, make sure you're tailoring it to yourself. Yes, studying with friends can be motivating sometimes. That's another thing. Whether or not friends are in the room makes all the difference. I personally can't study around my friends unless it's a group project, but that's not really studying. That's collaboration, and that makes sense. But I do know people who perform better when other people are in the room because they see them doing work and it holds them accountable to also put in the work. It's an influence. So everybody's different. And if that makes the difference for you, you should try it. You should implement it. And please do experiment with both because you could be missing out on something that can push you way beyond where you've managed to make it so far. That was a really weird way to explain that or say it. Yeah. Moving on. Tip number 8, I think, is taking 20-minute naps. This one sounds crazy because a lot of people can't control how long they take naps. So if you're one of those people, you might want to be careful here, or you might want to do something that I do, which you might think I'm insane, and my phone isn't near me, so I'm not going to get it. Actually, this is a video. I'll be back. Or you might be someone like me that has alarms from 12:20 a.m. All the way until 11:55, and I maybe go to 2-3 minute to 5 minute intervals here. Yeah, it's a little crazy. Is it a little much? It's absolutely much. I'm not even neglecting it, but I'm one who used to not wake up to alarms. And when it comes to morning alarms, I am that way, so I set up at least 5 to 6. So if you need that to perform this 20-minute nap, go for it. Please tailor it to yourself. Don't listen to other people. If they think you're crazy for it, who cares? I really don't care if anybody judges me for that. But my absolute recommendation is 20 minutes. And the reason it's 20 minutes is because there was a research conducted and that I tried out and it worked for me. It may or may not work for you. This is where I say, please tailor it to yourself. Please experiment. See what works for you. It may be a 10-minute nap for you. It may be something else, whatever. What the research presented is that 20 minutes and an hour 30 are completely ideal. And it's respective to your REM sleep. So this 20-minute nap, when you're first implementing it, you're going to notice that it feels like you're not even falling asleep at all. So you would think, how the hell did I get any energy when all my thoughts were spiraling and going through the whole, your mind, whatever, throughout the 20 minutes and you didn't even do anything but really just close your eyes or just barely close them? The difference is, this is yet another muscle you have to exercise, and it actually helps you in the long run because it teaches you how to fall asleep quicker or at least more effectively. So at night, if you're one that has trouble sleeping like I did, it really, really changes up the game there. By the way, I hope you guys like my friend's hat. And yes, this is the type of clothes I wear in Miami. Yeah, it is hot, but indoors it's really cold. And people don't believe in having it ever above 70 degrees, 72 degrees. Whatever. The 20-minute nap really wires you. So when you wake up from the 20 minutes, you're going to feel, a little bit tired. Sometimes the naps make you feel more tired at first, right? If you were to hear the alarm, turn it off and immediately stand up and go drink water. If you were to do that, you would see such a huge difference in your energy levels. Your alertness will shoot up through the roof and you will be much more effective when it comes to doing the productive work. If the nap doesn't work for you, or you want to add something to the nap that will really vamp up your energy levels or alertness at least, is cold showers. If you can't deal with cold showers the way I can't immediately walk into a cold shower, you get into warm water first and you slowly start leveling the water more and more cold until it doesn't feel as bad. And once you get to a pretty cold level where you're alert, well, the job's done. You can finish your shower. Or of course you can do the much quicker way of this, and it saves you time, which is just sheer cold water being thrown into your face, whether that's being on your behalf or a lovely friend of yours that of course would love to volunteer at throwing water on your face. But why would you want that? Man, I feel goofy as hell right now. I've given you 8 tips. I'm trying to think of a 9 because 9 is my favorite number and it would only make sense to do so. Not just that, but there's countless amount of tips that I've come across. Ooh, I got it. Tip number 9 is to give yourself an achievement system or a sense of satisfaction in accomplishing certain goals. Usually short-term goals, hopefully, because it's just much more satisfying. So when Once again, I've presented something in a way that sounds complicated, but it's much easier than what it is. Let me condense it. Basically, something like a to-do list that you can mark off, or have an app where you swipe it and it turns green, and it has that line crossed through it, and it gives you that satisfaction, like you accomplished something or you earned an achievement. This is very related to my childhood when I used to play a lot of Xbox, and there was achievement points that you can get for games. Every single time I would get one, I would get a huge rush of excitement. And you get the same thing with games in your phone or on Instagram with likes or Facebook or whatever. And there's studies on that, but not to overwhelm you with it. You basically get satisfied, and that drives you to go on and accomplish more of them. And you want more and more and more and more. So what I would recommend, I'm gonna need my phone again, is this app right here. It's called Productive. It's amazing. You can list out your habits that you're trying to build, and every single day or whatever amount of times you schedule in a week for you to accomplish something, you can swipe that you accomplished it. And as you do that, it turns green and it marks off the whole thing, and it gives you that satisfaction, and then you would want to do it again and again. As you can see from the phone that I showed you, I put in the bottom, so on the main apps. So something that would be there usually is your messages. The reason I put it on the main apps at the bottom is because it's readily accessible no matter what page I am on, at my home page or whatever other page on my screen. And that makes it readily available, and I see the little icon that says I have a notification of things that I have to accomplish. Holds me accountable, and it allows me to see how many days in the calendar that it provides have I been successful in meeting all my goals or a specific goal. And that really does drive you. I'm on 240, 250 something on taking vitamins, which is a huge thing for me. I take four or five vitamins, and that's a separate topic altogether. But I wanted to build the habit of doing that. I feel I've gotten to the point that I don't even need to have that on my app, but it just gives me that satisfaction. So whatever works for you, right? It also reminds me whether or not I did something. Point is, if you have something there, like accomplish your work, or if you're a content creator, publishing content consistently, or doing your work consistently, whatever it is, getting you that satisfaction that you achieved it. Some people want a digital version of this, just like the Productive app, because you have your phone on you at all times. Other people get the satisfaction of actually getting a pencil or whatever the hell and marking that off. Whatever works for you, go do it. But that sense of crossing something off, it seems like such a little thing, but it can make all the impact into your tactic, your strategy into fighting off procrastination. So I hope this brought you value. I truly, truly, truly want all of you to kill procrastination as much as you possibly can from your life, and do all the productive things you want to do. Whether that means getting the job done or pursuing your dreams or whatever it is, you have an objective at hand, and this can get you there. So I hope that you try these out, experiment, and have a lovely day. Take care, everybody.